Hello, welcome to a new video of the course. In this chapter we are going to see how we can install our Grafana in Docker. We see that we have it here as an option in the download and installation options. As with the rest of the installations, we can select the version and edition. Remember that I am working with the enterprise version, although, as I mentioned before, the enterprise version is always available and you can also use it for free, with the exception that there are some options that will not work if you do not have a license. During the course I will make a chapter talking about the enterprise version and its differences with the OSS version. As you see here, if I select enterprise version, below it shows me two possible options, one working with an Alpine operating system and the other with an Ubuntu operating system. I would recommend, for those who have been working with Ubuntu for some time, that you choose the second option. If you choose the first, well, it is more or less the same, but the operating system is lighter. You see that here it proposes to download the Grafana-Enterprise image. If I change the edition here, and tell it that instead of the enterprise system I want the OSS version, you will see that the image changes and now it reads Grafana OSS. So, depending on the one you select up here, the image that will be shown below is different, Grafana Enterprise or Grafana OSS. The Docker command that we have to write is very simple. It is docker run, with the -d option which is daemon mode, also called background mode, and then with --name option, the name that I want to give to my container. In this case you see that it is called Grafana. I am going to indicate the port mapping that I want to use with the option -p. For example, it will listen on port 3000. And finally the image I want to download. In this case I am going to select this one here, the Ubuntu one. I copy the command, go to a terminal and paste it. Finally I execute it. The command may vary if you do not have permissions to run Docker directly. In this case, you must type sudo before the command to run it with administrator permissions. If you have permissions to run Docker directly, you just have to run the command as is. As always, depending on your connection, this will take more or less. So let's wait a while for it to finish. Well, we see that it is already over. If I now use the command docker ps, I can verify that I have the container running and listening through port 3000. So, if I now go to a browser, open a new tab and I access with http://localhost and port 3000, which is where I currently have Grafana, I should have the same result that we have seen in the previous videos. It will ask me for login, and I will have to enter with the default username and password, which is, as you already know, admin. It will ask me if I want to change it, and you should put a strong password to avoid security problems. Once modified, the welcome window will appear. As I have already mentioned in other videos, we will see it later. One of the main advantages I have when I'm working with Docker is that I can have multiple Docker containers with multiple Grafana server on different ports in an easy way. Imagine that you want to have separate Grafana servers for different services or for different products that you have within the company. In this case, Docker is one of the easiest options, because you can start as many containers as you want. Let's do a small example. I go back to the terminal, and now I'm going to start another Grafana on another port with another name. So, I'm going to specify that this is called, for example, Grafana_dev and the port I want it to listen through is 4000. I specify that, when entering through port 4000 in this server, the request will be redirected to the container that is listening on port 3000 internally. By default the Grafana port is always 3000. But since it is inside a container there will be no collisions with other containers. So, you see that the first one is listening through port 3000 in the server. And now I'm going to open another one on port 4000. I can also do this with standalone, but it is a little more complicated because I have to edit the configuration files. So if I open a new tab, and write http://localhost and instead of 3000, I write 4000, which is the port that I have set in the second container, now it will log in the second container and, therefore, I have two completely separated Grafana installations. I can have one for development, one for one for production, etc. So it is much easier to handle. As you can see, in the case of Docker, it allows us to work in a simpler way, especially if you are in development and you need having multiple Grafana servers for multiple projects. I hope all the concepts we have seen are clear and I will see you in the next video.